want to talk about the movie real quick because it was an emotional watch. It was kind of crazy because we like, I think you did such a good job, and you do such a good job of like whatever side of politics you might be on, like humanizing everybody.
Yeah.
Whether it's protesters, whether it's people who are coming over. I mean, I subscribe to your. Is it a Patreon?
Yeah, Patreon.
Yeah, because I know there's Patreon and locals.
Yeah,
I subscribe to the pedophile beaters on the locals, the guys who beat up. The
those guys don't play.
Yeah, they don't play. But no, so I watched your entire episodes at the border. But you're so good at like just providing context and nuance to all these divisive issues.
Yeah,
which if you just consume like surface level media, that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
and so with this Kelly guy. For people who don't know, you were filming this guy for over 4 years.
Yeah.
Without giving away too much of the movie, you kind of dive into this guy named Kelly, who was a successful lawyer.
Yeah.
Had a family. Ended up losing his house. Blames it on a guy.
Yeah. He blames it on a lender named Bill Joyner.
Yeah. And
Bill.
And his whole entire like life just spirals into this like weird like MAGA sphere.
Yeah.
Like the craziest of the crazy, like hanging out outside of abortion clinics. That's how the movie starts.
Going hard.
And then it kind of you end up getting close with his kids.
Very close, yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Like for you, man, like at what point in time when you were filmed, because you also put out the HBO documentary, but at what point in time when you were kind of following Kelly, did you decide like, okay, we actually got to put all this together and do like a real movie and tell his story?
I mean, I think just like there was over 350 hours of footage. So the first time that I met him was at the White Lives Matter rally in Huntington Beach in 2021. And the last shoot was with Uncle Pill at a skate park in Oceanside, California, 3.5 weeks ago.
Right.
So we had a cumulative like 350 hours of total footage. And I just looked at it all in total and I was like, bro, we got to do something with this. And it was so...
When Kelly was at that that was the America Festival that just happened in Phoenix, huh?
It happens every like Christmas in Phoenix.
But that was the one that just happened.
No. That was filmed at the America Fest 1 year before.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure how soon how close it was because I was like, I thought that thing just happened.
No. It was 2023, I think.
Yeah. So all those years you end up wrapping it up 3.5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I know you had kind of articulated like you wanted to kind of dive into the why.
Yeah.
Because we have seen so many people who we deem to be like normal be radicalized on both sides of the aisle.
Definitely.
And there's a why.
Yeah.
And for you, like what were some of the correlations that you kind of realized were consistent with?
Well, like I noticed that even back in the day, like the first, I guess, conspiracy adjacent rallies I'd go to, like the Flat Earth Conference in Dallas, like I would post somebody like a flat earther talking about, Hitler having a secret city in Antarctica and hiding the flat earth truth, that type of thing. And the comments would be like, yo, this was my science teacher. He got fired for like, flashing students or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Or like, this is my cousin, like he got laid off after he got hurt at work and he's never been the same. And so I noticed this like common thread of people having a full-blown collapse of their core needs, like security, significance, and connection, all collapsing. And then they develop this like super negative worldview that's very binary as far as like, I'm a good person, and there's this like nebulous evil force that's out there, like this dark cloud that's above every hardworking, red-blooded American patriot. It's just trying to sap all the life force out of us. Right. And a political movement comes around, kind of picks up on that angst and gives them a way to channel their personal situation into a greater spiritual war in the country.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy too because it really makes sense because it gives you, it's so easy to not have accountability.
Yeah.
And I think what was dope about the movie is by the end of the movie it seems like this guy ended up taking some accountability.
A little bit. Yeah,
a little bit.
Without spoiling the whole shit, like a lot of people watch the movie and they see the ending and they're disappointed. But I'm like, dude, if you look at the very beginning to the end of the movie, that's a different guy.
For sure.
He's probably not doing like the TLC intervention 90 days later thing where they're like, oh my God, I'm healed. But he's significantly less angry. He's let aside some personal resentments. But yeah, you're right, bro. Like, it's way easier to live in your own self-mythology and have a heroic narrative about your own life as opposed to acknowledging like different shortcomings and saying, you know what, I'm going to do this better in the future and keep pushing.
And like the other thing too is like, it's if there is like a thread of like validity to an issue, and not even necessarily a thread, because I think with the immigration issue, obviously the border was out of control.
Yeah.
This is
question.
This is a fact. But it also gives a lot of people who are in situations in their lives to point the finger at somebody. Like, I have the villain in my story as to why I might not be doing better. Is it because of immigrants? Is it because of, you know, X, Y, Z? And this is on both sides, you know? But it's like very, very, you know, to me, what I've realized is a lot of these folks who are like radicalized, they're really radicalized because they need a villain. Yeah. And they need a purpose. Like, look, it's kind of like being a Crip or a Blood. You know what I mean?
Like, and what's crazy about it is, like, when you look at these conservative events, especially like in the MAGA sphere, you could have like a Bitcoin libertarian who drinks ayahuasca and smokes weed 5 times a day sitting next to somebody who is a
QAnon psycho
or a pro-life evangelical Christian who like actually believes that marijuana was created by the devil to make white women have interracial children.
Yeah, like it's like the Venn diagram of people that go is insane.
And they're like, oh, we both fuck with Trump? It's all good. Whereas on the other side, the liberal side, you can't even have a group of 5 without them tearing each other down for dumb shit.
Yeah, and like, you know, I'm an old school liberal. Like, I voted for Bernie. I'm you know, I guess I would be as, you know, I'm pretty aligned with Bernie Sanders on mostly everything. I think,
Same here.
I think he got fucked over. I mean, I don't think. I know he got.
And
fucked over.
And we're paying for that now.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But like you said, you know, it's frustrating because I think over the last, I would say since COVID, right? Like, you're really not allowed to step out of line as a liberal on any issue whatsoever. Like, I'm super pro trans rights, super pro trans rights. I think it's fucked up that Trump just banned them from the military. I also think it's like a serious conversation to say, like, hey, when it comes to sports, like, that's a conversation, like combat sports.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
should have, like, it doesn't make sense. Not to say that it's like maybe there's a trans fighting league. I don't know.
That'd be the best league. I'd go all the time.
Is like if you just step out a little bit, it's like you get fucking thrown. Like, I mean, dude, I remember during the pandemic, I mean, I was spooked, man. I was masked up.
The whole time?
For like the first 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
Maybe even the first 3 months. But I was wearing gloves and shit at the gas station. But I remember like, Joe Rogan had this doctor named not the guy who looks like Kenny Rogers, Andrew something. But he was like one of the guys who he was like the most published cardiovascular doctor of all time, and they were just talking about like, you know, the vaccine and like all these alternative things. And I remember just bringing up, like, not even like knowing for sure. I just remember bringing some shit up in front of my cousin. And he was like, are you fucking MAGA now, bro?
Oh, shit.
And I was like, what? Yeah. Of course not. Like, what are we talking about? And it was like this thing where like you couldn't even like question what was going on with like some of the like alternative like treatments that were available for COVID, or even just like the lab leak theory. And it just, I feel like COVID, like we were already super divided from like 2016 on. Yeah. QAnon was cracking, like all this crazy shit was happening. But I feel like between like COVID and, you know, the BLM, you know, George Floyd riots, like it just, I feel like we all just got thrown into a blender.
Yeah. I feel like also the social policing that COVID created, especially in more liberal spaces, made it so conservatives became the new counterculture. Like, I remember before George Floyd popped off in May, there was those 2 months where the only thing that I was covering was freedom rallies. So, like...
I remember watching you go to Sturgis.
Yeah, Sturgis was sick. I went to Sacramento Capitol. They had... This is before the vaccine, so it was just called a freedom rally. It was like an anti-lockdown protest. And, dude, like, conservatives were uniting as, like, we're going against the government. Like, we're not going to take it. And before then, the conservatives were, like, all about the government narrative.
And it's funny because when you... I mean, obviously, I don't know how old you are, but it's like... I feel like prior to COVID, like... liberals were supposed to be like anti-government.
Yeah. And now they're
anti-war.
And they were supporting the censorship of like everybody on social media. And now you see what that did. It just pushed everybody into tighter echo chambers. And now look, Trump's in office.
It did. And then it pushed everybody because, like you said, if the counterculture to something that makes no sense is just the right. Yeah. And because I've noticed so many people who I know who supported Bernie Sanders. I mean, people who donate money to Bernie Sanders vote for Trump. Yeah. Like there's like this weird, like, who would have thought like that would ever be a thing? But it's like, well, if the option is, people kind of pick their poison.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? Like,
definitely. I mean, especially if you think about it now, it's crazy to me that Trump ran on this platform of like eliminating the deep state bureaucracy. So like the DNC and CNN and the media, but now he has like a private army of tech oligarchs as his advisors. So it's so crazy. But going back to a point that I wanted to make too, a lot of people watch Dear Kelly and they say, yo, why don't you make a movie about the liberal equivalent of Kelly? And I just want to say that does exist, but I don't think that like radical, hardcore liberalism is created by need collapse. I think it's actually created by an oversaturation of core needs. Like people who have everything that they need and they're doing so well they feel bad, especially if they participate in gentrification and they're pushing people out of neighborhoods like Brooklyn, like
they're like, I feel bad. My white guilt is it's just I have to do something. It's
paralyzing for them. And so I think most like extreme libs that I've seen, they come from more conservative families. They come from the suburbs. They moved to this city. I grew up in this city, so I didn't grow up around any like hardcore liberals. But there's a correlation. The most gentrified neighborhoods in America is where you see the most hardcore liberals.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's funny too because my I do a radio show. My co-host is James Jefferson, who's a big TikTok personality, black guy. But he always says, he's like, yo, man, like most of the time there's like someone like super pissed off or like triggered by something in the news that isn't that big of a deal. It's always like a white woman.
Always.
It's always a white lady.
During COVID, during the protest movement, I came into contact with a group in Portland, Oregon called the White Body Shields. And what they would do is they would go in bulletproof armor to black neighborhoods, and they would approach older black women usually and say, hey, do you need me to walk you to the bus stop? Do you need me to walk you to the grocery store? Just in case a policeman tries to kill you, I want to make sure that I can be a physical barrier and take those bullets for you. And people would be like, no, what the fuck? Get away from me. But they'd be like, you don't understand. This is a divisive time and you're being hunted down in the streets.
You know, it's funny too, because I saw this video and obviously it was on Twitter, but it was like, there's this overall discussion about like voter ID. And it seems like most of the people who are against voter ID are like liberal white people. Mm-hmm. And they go through the hood and they ask people like, hey, do you got an ID? And they're like, yeah, what the fuck? Like,
they're like, are you sure?
Are you sure? And it's because it's like the argument is like, well, there's certain minority communities where it's almost impossible for them to have an ID. And it's it's almost like that Democratic lady who said something about the kids in the Bronx, like they'd never seen a computer before.
Oh yeah, they don't even know what computers are.
And it's like, lady, these kids they have an iPhone.
Yeah, they're better at computers than me.
You.
They're 17.
Yeah, like they know how to they know CapCut better than all of us.
Yeah, man. The kids of today are crazy, bro. I had a cousin, my little cousin, he wakes up on Christmas morning before opening his own presents to watch his favorite streamer unbox their gifts. And he's more stoked about like what they're gonna get. He's like in the chat being like L gift, W gift. So by the time his parents are like, Santa came, he's like, I don't give a fuck. I got an Xbox.
I saw what Kai got. Yeah. Fuck your socks, mom.
Yeah.
That shit's funny,
So
man.
the point is, the kids from the Bronx to the Hamptons, they know about the phone and the computer.
They know computers, yeah. No, it's interesting too, man, because I think with the movie, like, for me, it was just like showing like how his daughter, because he has a lesbian daughter, right? Kelly has a lesbian daughter, and just showing how like, by the way, his kid's a badass. His son is outside.
Kyle's outside.
Yeah, he's fucking.
Oh, you talking about his party?
Yeah, I was like, oh, this guy's lit.
It was a tight party.
But it was just dope to kind of see the perspective of like how like kids are affected, and the fact like he showed up to a protest with his dad, I thought was like the nicest thing.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, this is what he's into, so I'm just gonna show up. Like I don't know, like.
Yeah, that scene definitely was emotionally impactful for me because I'm like, wow, the lengths that he'll go to connect with his pops, and I think that a lot of people can relate to that
for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure, man. Bill Joyner is suing you.
Yeah.
For people like he's the boogeyman of this film, and allegedly he's the and then like to be fair, you did not paint him as the boogeyman.
That's what I think, and I try to tell him that. I try to tell him.
You kind of showed the world that hey, this guy didn't really do anything wrong.
Yeah. Well, the lawsuit was filed before the film even came out.
So you're kind of hoping he's seen the movie, maybe eases up a little.
Well, I think that him and his lawyer, from what I can see by the court filings, they think that we are like that we're on Kelly's like exact team, and that we're corroborating his narrative about the home foreclosure.
Right.
But in reality,
which is not the case.
No. So the actual lawsuit says violation of the Federal Wiretap Act. Like, he thought we were tapping his phone lines. It says stalking, emotional distress. Like, we weren't stalking him or anything.
Right.
Or, I mean, emotional distress. I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, no. So are you worried about the lawsuit at all?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, thankfully, like, we filed an anti-slap motion. It's like some thing basically where if someone sues you for defamation or whatever, you can do an anti-slap motion, which is like SLAPP. Basically means like it's within my rights as a documentary filmmaker to share someone's perspective, even if you disagree with it.
And you knew that this lawsuit was already kind of in motion and still decided to release the movie.
Yeah, because the judge dismissed what's called oral argument. So that's like when they expect both attorneys to show up and make their case, and is deliberating for like a 180-day period or something.
Right.
So what that tells me is that the judge has kind of made up her mind to the point that she didn't even want to hear from my lawyer or Bill's lawyer.
That makes sense.
So I won't know if she's Team Bill or Team Channel 5 for like at least 90 days.
Damn, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Thanks. I mean, it's going to be fine, like, I think.
I think, too, like, I think this movie, like, because I know you had opened the movie kind of explaining, like, hey, you know, because I thought the HBO documentary was amazing.
Thank you.
But it was crazy to see, like even like then, like you had to kind of like, you know, you're playing by the rules a bit when you're doing something with a big partner like that. Mm-hmm. And so this was like straight to the.
Yeah. I mean, I finished the movie, Dear Kelly, one day before it came out. Like, I did a final color and sound pass and put the right songs on, like, literally the day before it came out. So,
shit's crazy.
In comparison, the HBO film was picture locked, so finished without color and audio, 9 months before the release date.
Damn. Do you feel like this is kind of the new way because I mean you're doing well, right?
Yeah.
It sold a lot, you know. I saw some. I think it broke some record. Or something
I think we got 100,000 in sales in the first weekend,
which is amazing.
Which is like a record since Coney 2012 for a direct to consumer streamed video.
Do you feel like that? Because at the end of the day, you put so much work into like some of these videos you do, which is why I think it's important to support the Patreon.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Because you put a ton of work, bro. Like this is like real journalism. Like like people will see shit on the news. You're actually like going to wherever it's happening and finding out what is going on
in the field. And we really have no bosses. A lot of people, they masquerade as being independent, you know what I mean? Because you see them on the street with the, you know, but they
like, I'm with Vice, I'm independent journalist.
Right, but you know what I mean? Like, we're actually like not beholden to anybody, which is why they don't like us.
By the way, thank you for not like doing like cringy weird shit like Vice used to do where like I did heroin for 30 days straight and this is what happened.
You know what's crazy though, bro, is that Vice, when I was a youngster, when I'm 27.
Oh, back in the day it was amazing.
So sick. So I always say when people talk shit about Vice, I'm like, yes, Vice makes some pretty ass shit nowadays. However,
it used to be the shit.
Back
when they would go to the Congo and
dude, General Butt Naked. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Or even the David Cho series, Thumbs Up America. Mm-hmm. Like without that series, I probably wouldn't have hitchhiked across the US. I probably wouldn't have made videos. I probably wouldn't have been here.
That shit's crazy.
They made journalism cool again.
Yeah.
Before Vice, I don't think there was anybody actually pushing the envelope, except for like Louis Theroux in the UK with BBC. But like journalism wasn't like badass until Vice.